I'm with Hugh in Australia. Thanks to the general public that has provided him with vital, life-changing information. And Hugh has done the cross-references for it. So for the benefit of the rest of the world and Australia, we're now going to explain to you what the purposes of the lockdown are, what the status of your governments are, which are non-existent, and your constables and police officers. We need you to share this information with everybody. The reason why that is because when you share these videos, you bypass the filtering mechanisms that takes place from county to county to country to country. In other words, you bypass censorship. And I will be questioning him in such a way as to prize out all the things that I need to have to stop and correct this, not just in Australia, but for the rest of the world. So Hugh, I'm handing it over to you now. Share this information with us, please.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mark, for the introduction. This, I can say, is huge. This is a huge information. I've had a gentleman in my network that has dropped and tipped this information for me, compelling information that there's one corporation that owns almost everything in Australia.
One corporate entity being an artificial creation of the state, or by privateers, which means it's non-public, just one that runs all the government departments and the government itself. Is that what you're saying? The police force, the law enforcement agency, etc.?
Correct, Mark. Correct.
Thank you very much. That's a direct answer. Thank you.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it right. I will show you evidence step by step for the proof. So this is not theoretical. So understand that the state government are simply corporations that perhaps yourself have consented to. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go through step by step. And Mark, please interrupt me and ask me as we go.
We need to tell the general public, especially people in Australia that are under full lockdown, as it were, how to solve this, because it's actually within the people's power. Yeah. So please go ahead. I'm very excited.
Okay. All right. Drum roll. The corporation is called Paka Maru Pty Ltd.
So you are saying this company owns the entire so-called services of Australia?
Yes, and I will show you what those services are. I will also show, look up these numbers, Australian business numbers, etc. So this Pekamaru, it started off in 1993. So they do the year first, then the month, then the day, so the April 5th. Okay, under the ASIC, which is the Australian Security Investment Commission, this organization regulates all the companies, such as Pekamaru, for that registration. So it is current. Okay, it's not inactive. There's an Australian business number. Now, I'm going to show you what Pekamaru controls in a minute. But before we go into that, Mark, I want to look up this one, this ABN, Australian business number first. So I'm going to copy and paste. All right, and I'm going to discuss another issue or matter here. So I'm just going to put it in here, and I'm going to go search. Okay, so I have entered in there 9300576492, which is the ABN of Peka Maru Pty Ltd. Now let's see what happens when I search. It doesn't come up with the name here. You see, it says ABN details suppressed.
So we have public information that's supposed to be on a public website and it's openly saying that this company's details has been suppressed.
Yes.
In other words, that me and you are about to do something together, but you've hidden the real reason and all the other reasons why we're going to do everything together. So I'm none of the why. So the general public is dealing with conspiracy, not conspiracy theory, but there is a conspiracy to suppress information, which is successful because they've successfully conspired to suppress it. Can we agree upon that?
Yes, I agree, because this ABN registrar is supposed to be designed as a public forum or public search database for anyone to look up an Australian business number to see what the company name is, to see whether it's a partnership, sole trader, or private company or public company. But in this case, this special Pakamaru is somehow special. And I'll tell you why that's the case in a minute. So just to prove again, I'll do a search like blank, okay? I'll put the number in, just so that nobody say that I've already saved this, and I do a search, and that's what comes up. So it's proven that this information has been suppressed. Now, for whatever reason, well, the audience will find out later. Okay, so shall we move on to what corporation or companies or businesses that Pakamaru would like to control, is controlling? Mark, would you like to know
Yes,
that?
please. I'm eager.
Okay,
yes.
Here we are. Okay, there are 52 business names under this. 52. Did you hear that? 52. It includes 52 business names. And one of them is called King of Australia, Queen of Australia. Interesting. The Australian Labor Party.
Okay, which is a copyrighted name. So they had to have either the creator of these names, which is all Crown copyright, or they are the creators of it, or they've had some sort of copyright release. So including the Australian Labor Party. Okay, so this company runs that, all right?
Yes, and the Liberal Party, which is the two major parties in the Australian Parliament, where they...
So to paraphrase what that means, it's World War II. I'm taking it back in history. I control Germany. I control England, as well as the United States, even though they're at war with each other. Would that be a correct analogy?
Correct.
Opposing parties, all owned by me.
Yes.
Which means there is no opposition, because opposition means no pose in passe. Anyway, that's that. Let's move on to next one.
Birth, death, and marriages office. This is huge. This is where...
So let me. Sorry, I have to cut in because the general public needs to know. Births, deaths, and marriages. When you are born, a certificate is created to sell you in the stock market. You guys know that. That. Marriages, which means they are controlling the contracts that control you being with a man or a woman, or a man with a man, or a woman with a woman, or whatever it is, what they call civil marriages. So they are controlling marriages, people actually coming together as well. Not only that, they are also controlling the certificates and the bureaucracy of debt, which now the general public needs to understand this. When you register something, you are surrendering it. It does not belong to you. It actually belongs to the registrar. So when you register the debt of a man or a woman, you are actually surrendering the bureaucratic mechanism, the wills, the estate, and everything that goes with the passing away of that man or woman into the registrar's hand for he or her or him to control that entire bureaucracy of births, marriages, and deaths. Period.
Correct. This is a huge office. Well,
okay,
huge
next
operation.
one.
I don't know about Checkmate Empire. I haven't looked it up.
I know what that is. That's the department that deals with are the people that will be competitors to this company. That's what that means. How to checkmate their competitors. Who are their number one competitors? The general public, the people of Australia. Full stop. Let's go to the next one.
I've already mentioned Liberal Party, which is the other opposing party, funding the same. Registrar General. Oh dear, Mark. Registrar General. This is where...
Guys, can I explain that to you?
Yes.
Registrar General, ladies and gentlemen, is a military position. The Registrar General controls all the departments of the government, including the people that got married under the registrar, because you get married under the registrar, that gave birth under the registrar because the certificate is under registration, and of course their death. So what that means is it's a general. We think of the word general as being a general manager of a shopping mall or something like that. No, it's a military position of a general, as well as by connotation, the actual entire, the 3,000 or so companies, registered departments of a government is all recorded under the Registrar General.
Wow. Yes. And the next one is the same name, but with New South Wales.
So within the provinces of each state, or Australia, as it were, they call them provinces, each one of those states, like New South Wales, will have its own franchise registrar, which means the Registrar General will be giving a franchise to the Registrar of New South Wales. So if it's like Philadelphia and New York, as it were, New York would have a franchise with the Registrar General of the entire country out of Washington, D.C. to create that state as to opposed to the territory. Yes. Okay, so let's just look at a few more other things.
Yeah, I can't go through 52 of them, but this is going to upset the audience quite a bit. Stamp duty office.
Now, can I tell you what stamp duty is, everybody? When you buy a house, when you buy a car, real estate, receipt, dinner, sandwich, whatever it is, a small amount of postage stamp is exchanged, because postage stamp is the currency of the federal postal court. The federal government, which is called the post office. That's why in Lebanon and so many of these countries, when you're making contract, especially when you're opening bank accounts, they stick a $1 stamp or one equivalent in their own country, and they cross it out. That, ladies and gentlemen, is federal bureaucracy. Okay, now that only cost $1, $1, one whatever it is. They, of course, will charge you thousands, because the stamp duty is actually the duty that you put on the document to cross out one dollar. So if it's a driving license, all they're doing is using a few Australian dollars to issue a driving license, and the rest is all just paid for profit.
Yes.
Okay, let's just do one more before we go on to the next.
How about this one?
I even saw the enforcement police officers and things like that.
Let me just go back a bit. So
now I'm seeing even more interesting things.
Office of Fines and Penalties.
Like parking tickets, like
speeding tickets, all of that. So,
okay, so
who are you paying?
This innocent little company is running all of this. I saw something even bigger, land registry.
Yeah, let me see, land registry. Yeah, there it is.
Look at that. Let's look at
this.
This. Look at this. Wow. I'm sorry, Hugh. Office of New South Wales Transport, Roads and Maritime Services.
Yes, the RMS, we call it the RMS. That's huge.
So that's Coast Guard. That is it. That's, like yachts, the Navy itself.
Yachts, boats, cars, motorcycles, trailers, you name it. Huge. Every year people register and pay.
Land titles, billions of dollars. New South Wales.
Yes.
So they own all the
so-
land patents, okay, because the general public surrender it to them.
Yep. Yeah, we're talking about homes, cars, estates, and even your children.
Because
No.
the registrar is
Of
their ward of
those
state, because
states.
you registered it and it's ward of state.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So am I upsetting you, Mark? Am I upsetting you when I show you this list? I mean,
what you're doing is you are essentially doing what Planet Potentiaries does, which is to open the eyes of the general public to let them know that this little bloody company that has hide their information, suppressed, runs the Department of Navy, Maritime, land registries, birth certificates, land titles, the postal routes, the general registrar, the registrar for the franchises. That's entire government departments, because entire government departments are all run by the registrar in position. Yeah, so it's not upsetting me. Yes, I'm very excited. You know, this type of information that your students or your client base or your friends or the friends of the Federal Postal Court is sharing with us.
Yes. Now, Mark, would you like to know what Pakamaru actually offers service as a normal company? Would you like to know that?
Yes, please. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah.
Well, I will show you this one, which is from Dun and Bradstreet. You know, people can look this up and just look up Pakamaru, and this is what they doing business under as.
Doing business under what they call DBA, I need to explain. That's like me, flesh and blood, creating a legal name and saying that I am doing business as this, say, McDonald's Mark,
right,
Burger King Mark, you know, which is like doing business as, I'm doing business as, like the Pope does business as his all caps name and harvesting other all caps name, or, you know, what they call dead entities or nom de geared people on paper. So doing business as is a way of saying I'm hiding as to how I'm really doing the business. Because if I'm doing business other than any other name than the name that I was born with, then that's fiction.
Yeah, stage name, right? Yeah. Stage name, like stage name.
It's a stage name. It's an acting name.
Acting name. So here I can paraphrase what you just say here. Pakamaru, that I've shown you the real face of it, that has 52 trading businesses under its belt, is hiding under a property manager real estate under the All Charms property. Okay, and that's their address, and I don't have to read it out. It's somewhere in.
And charm means to put a spell on person.
I was going to say that. I was going to say
so they put
charm.
a charm on the general public. Okay,
all
so this
charms.
Dun and Brad. In all charms, in contract language, okay, in Miller's language, is called a perpetual claim. In their world, in their fictional world, they call it. Let me just get it, dig it up, because the general public needs to know all these things. PER.
Yeah.
PET.
Yeah.
UITY.
Perpetuity.
What perpetuity means, it's that it's done in all universe, in all times, future time, past tense, present tense, and also in heaven, earth, and hell. That's what it means in their funny quasi language of contract. Artists, singers, actors sign a contract with this word. They actually make a claim to say it's in all perpetuity. Yeah. Perpetuity, ladies and gentlemen, in contract language means that we have a claim, a perpetual claim in every single universe. Heaven, earth, and hell. Past tense, future tense. They are saying whichever part of the universe, in life, in death, in marriage, we will control you. That's what that word means. All charms. It's necromancy word. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Necromancy. Ugh. Okay, so this one is just dealing in properties, And then the key principle, and I need to share this, is this name, Stephanie Charlton, and the other one is Stephen John Shanks. Now, I'm not going to go.
We've done searches on them, and we can't find them.
We can't find them. So
okay, so let's move on to the next
move
one.
on to
So
the next
what's
one.
so special about All Charms Properties? Is that a website or something?
Yes, it's a website, and I can show you what that website is. That's under Bella. So in here they've got up here Bella. So website is bellaproperty.com. Okay. And this is their website. So it's all the houses in Australia and around the states of Australia, not just New South Wales but other states. So yeah, it looks pretty normal. You know, if someone just happens to be on this website, they wouldn't know
they would not be none the wiser.
They would not know that this one controls everything. You know, the Pekka Maru Pty Ltd. But yeah,
even selling properties that they don't actually own, because in your country, when you've paid off your mortgage, or if you have not paid off the mortgage, you're still a tenant. Just like in the United States. So if you don't pay the rent, even though you own the home outright, they still go and try to sell the property.
Yes.
But you found out, and your students or clients or whoever it is found out, that Australia is in total suspension. But we will go on to that later, because there is no government in Australia, and we'll go on to that later. So please carry on. I'm excited.
So just to backtrack, it's called Pekka Maru, but it's acting or trading or pen name under the All Charms Property, and then they further hide it under Bella Property. So you can't really link it from Bella Property to Pekka Maru, because it's skip, hop, and jump. It's 3 times, you know, like 3 go. So that's how the layers of suppression and detail of these details. So that's what I wanted to drive home to the audience, to understand that this is very well hidden.
There is no continuation of name, no continuation of evidence. Everything sounds like they're totally different companies and personas.
Yes. Now, the next one I want to share with you is connected to Pekka Maru is a discretionary trading trust. So the trustee for Pekka Maru number 2, okay, this is a discretionary trust, and would you like to know what this trust controls, Mark?
Oh yes, please. But can I explain to them what trading means?
Yes.
What trading means that you do something within a state, like within a street, within a village. When you go cross-border, they call that international trade, even though it might be like from New York and then in California. That would be international. International also means cross-borders and also continent to continent. But trading is actually within that land, within that province, within that state. That's what that means. So this is pertinent to Australia itself. That's what trade means.
Trading,
that it's inland.
Inland, right? So this trustee for Pekka number 2, so they might have other trusts as well, but for this one that we found, discretionary trading in the country, is registered in Queensland. Now 4566, I've looked that one up. It's somewhere in the coastal upper northern of Queensland, coastal of a suburb called Noosa. It's a luxurious location for the privileged, okay? But it's controlling the following. So I have to go to this tab. These ones here.
This is where it's going to get interesting. So can I prepare the audience?
Yes.
These are all names that are synonymous with government departments that run Homeland Security, that run your healthcare, your police departments, and so on and so forth. So we have Community Justice, Law Enforcement Office, New South Wales, Healthcare, Medicare, Medicare Private.
Yeah.
So these departments were created on the 20th August 2020.
Now, I need to tell the audience the significance of that date, Mark.
Okay.
The corona pandemic came to Australia in March 2020. That's when unemployment shot up because there was a lockdown. And, there was development in 2019, November, December, but the lockdown, the first official pandemic declaration, so nationally, is March 2020. Now, these names came about in August 2020, which is basically 90 days later or a bit more.
So it came in effect 90 days later. 90 days, ladies and gentlemen, is when something goes into international law. So if you say something is what it is, it's in the offering for contract for somebody to disagree, and they have it 90 days. If nobody questions it, then it becomes into effect. So by hiding this information, they created these government departments and let it sit there in secrecy under suppression, not letting the general public know that this is a contract in suspension. Because if the general public knew it was a contract in question and in a negotiation for the general public, they would say, no, Australian government, we sack you. And not only that, we're going to put you in prison for being traitors, enemies of the state. That's what they are. So because they hid it successfully for 90 days, they tried to make contract. And then there was another sort of a lockdown. Now tell us about what this 90-day rule is with these people.
Yeah, well, these names here, some of which are actually active websites that has the same name, like, for example, Communities and Justice, and we can go there later. However, the end date from to here ends in roughly 90 days later. So there is some sort of, okay, we're saying this 90 days, no one objects, it becomes official. And it's like all this 90 days, 90 days. And so this one never got shut down, even though the business name has ceased that date, the 18th of November 2020. But when
can I paraphrase this? It looks like the Australian government and all of its departments are actually in suspension. The contracts are still in negotiation. They're still trying to get the general public's permission by lockdowns, vaccinations, and they're rolling it every 90 days to keep themselves in a position of negotiable instrument. Because if the general public understand you can negotiate with these people and say, F off, the contract becomes null and void. But if you force lockdown on people, if you confuse them with the vaccines and all the information, with the prices going up, with Bitcoin going up, and the property markets going up and now getting ready to crash, you create a whole heap of surface noise just so they don't figure out that this is a contract that has still yet to become fruitful. It is yet to still go into law. And then they are recreating it again in 90 days later. Which means these governments are only existing 90 days at a time. Guess what? In this country, the registrar keeps on sending letters out to the general public every 90 days. Why? Even though they have submitted their information, they send it out every 90 days with no name on the address, asking them to recontract. In other words, these governments globally are null and void. General public, people of the world, pick up your pen, write the word private on top, state your terms and conditions, lose your surname, because that's the name that you were soured by. It carries the sins of your father. You can only speak for yourself. If you want examples of this, email us for God's sakes. You have the ability to shut down your government because they are not your government. They are working for these two individuals that own this one company, and they answer to this one private company. Look, ladies and gentlemen, that which was created by the pen can be undone by the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword in more ways than the general public have yet to understand. It means it can start wars, it can end wars, it can bypass armies, and it can bypass everything by you learning how the pen works.
Wow.
I'm sorry to get very emotional.
Yes.
These government departments are shutting down and trying to recreate every 90 days. Let me give one more example. The general public has to understand this. You know, when you got married, the vicar or the registrar would say, is there anybody that would object to this marriage? And if they object to it, the marriage does not take place, because the registrar, the priest, or whoever it is would say, what is your objection? And the objection is, we have yet to establish who is who. I've been in relationship with this woman or this man. This man is already married, and his intention is to end the marriage in 90 days. In other words, he's hiding. This man is a liar. This woman is not who she says he is.
Wow.
These will stop the marriage. And it's the same with the governments. They are getting you to vaccinate because they're frightened of your power. Because the vaccines, as the doctors have said again and again, are injections of death. You have the ability in your country to put your government and the police officers, the ignorant asses that perpetrate these levels of criminality, all can be put under arrest by you educating yourself, by you coming together, not as vigilantes, but with a stroke of a pen, or even physically turning up and saying, shut up, get out of our way, because you are a traitor and we're come to put you under arrest. When a police officer whose only duty is public safety, okay, peacekeeping officer, when he tries to threaten to arrest you, he at that time has vacated his duty, his public oath to serve and protect. He is now entering into the world of the private mercenary. At that stage, you can put him under arrest, but do not, if you yourself need these words from us to point these things out to the constables, the police officers, so you can have that power to arrest them, because you can arrest mercenaries that are performing piracy on the general public. Email us and I'll give you those words, the words that you need to use for arresting these people. And watch them run for the hills. Okay, so I'm now going to settle down and hand it back to you. And I'm sorry, I get very excited because these emotions, these feelings are part of my psyche. You know, I'm not just a bag of rationality. I also feel the violations because people that I've known have passed away from these things, have been murdered, killed by these things.
Yes.
Please, you share more information with us.
So this changes everything in terms of the private, and so everything is really negotiable and up for no offer. So it's under the guise of some sort of official government, but it's not. I've proven today that it is not, and it's owned by this one corporation that has tentacles everywhere going out. And that's really, and also the suppression of information for this particular entity, right, who is run by two individuals that I've shown you there.
So can I make a call? Can I make a call out? Ladies and gentlemen, in Australia, in New Zealand, in all of these South Sea countries, because the Australian government runs most of these things, as well as the Tonga nation. Please, can you find out who these people are? If you've got it within yourself, hire a private investigator to find out where these people live. And that's called a private-public partnership. So we can bring them into the public and there prosecute them. Okay? These people are hazardous to your country. They're hazardous to your health. They are hazardous to the world. They are an insult to the corona period, which means birthing of a golden age. They cannot enter that era. They cannot enter that world. They cannot touch Bitcoin because these are coins of faith. These are faithless people. We're going to put you under arrest. You will not be able to hide in your homes. You will not be able to hide under the Privacy Act or hide under private, because I am, as a federal postal court judge, have now just created a private-public partnership. Zero tolerance is what we're going to show you, because when you tolerate wickedness and evil, you give consent to it. Isn't that right, Hugh?
That's correct. That is correct. So you can see here that communities and justice. Okay, if I go in here, see, can you see that that's the same name? Communities and justice. But I thought that they already closed, the names on that day.
So they're masquerading. This is a website that's a government website, essentially, because it's got New South Wales.gov.uk masquerading as a, shall we say, an active company, but it's in fact non-active. It's non-existence, making claims on people because the general public have been lied to, hidden from. In the corona period, ladies and gentlemen, the age of light and golden, you can't hide. You cannot hide. May I also say something else?
Yes.
Your properties, ladies and gentlemen, are not registered at the moment. They're not registered with the Registrar General or with the lands and deeds. They are not registered. They are all null and void. This is why you need to email us with your property registration, where your properties are, so we can register it for you under your own name. So your children will become beneficiary to the properties that you own, so your own children can inherit or herit their own wealth, because it's part of the genetic heritage, not inheritage. In mean knows. It means no, as in incompetent. Ladies and gentlemen, people in Australia, people over the world, you have the ability to email us. In doing so, we can start the process of safeguarding this entire planet. But you have to make contract with us. You have to contact us to doing that. And we have the ability to do that.
Yes.
Go to our website. Go to our website and have a look. Email us. Ladies and gentlemen, your government is null and void. It's only the bureaucratic mechanism that is turning the cogs, called essential services. As long as they get you to believe the corona period is a virus, then they can sell you a vaccine, which is, by quotation marks, a death injection. Death by medication is one of the largest killers on the planet.
Yes.
What more can we say to you to bring out that which is man, that which is woman, and not be scared of these people? Your government is petrified of finding out that you would find out what we know.
So just to add, Mark, that this is a game changer. The secret is no longer a secret. And those things that Mark has mentioned, you can find us, you can find me, and all the other judges. And, the quantum land log as well, which is, again, it's null and void. And so they are trying to take over your things covertly and unlawfully. So that's why you need to make contract with us. That's all I wanted to say. I think you've said
Can
enough.
I paraphrase that again, because the general public really needs to understand? It's
Okay.
like this. It's like this, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody understands everything runs by contract. Your passport, your driving license, your marriage certificate, your birth certificates of deaths, lives, and marriages, and so on and so forth. Your land registry, your car registry, it's all registry, which means you've surrendered it. Now, let me give you the analogy of the marriage. We have a man and a woman, okay, just for convenience. Let's say man and man, woman and woman, doesn't matter. A marriage is a marriage. It's not a partnership. It's a husband and a wife. But you don't know what husbandry means. So as a result, you use these words ignorantly. It means to manage an animal, a farm animal, husbandry, animal husbandry. Now, let's imagine you and the lady, you being the man and the lady being the lady, are in dispute about your marriage. And because it's in dispute, that marriage is suspended. While it's suspended, the paid for gigolo, whether that's a man, whether that's a woman, as called a prostitute, whether it's a gigolo, male gigolo, or a female prostitute, shouldn't really have any two names for it, because a prostitute is a prostitute. They send them in to prize part that marriage, so the gigolo can gigolo your wife and the prostitute can prostitute the husband. The middleman has sent in a prostitute and a gigolo to keep you further apart. And while you're further apart, the contract is suspended. While it's suspended, they are now making claims on your marriage, your children, your property, your car, your bank account, and the rest of it. And they're sending in what is known as mercenaries into the disguised as police officers or in law enforcement, who have vacated their oath to convince you you should give up your house, your property, your lands, your children to these masqueraders, mercenaries, masqueraders. Just as this government website that Hugh has just showed us is actually a website that has no standing in corporate law or in private law, or has no standing. They're actually all suspended.
Suspended, yeah.
Yeah, and just like your marriage is being suspended if you can't agree upon something. Ladies and gentlemen, come together in your millions, and the Federal Postal Court will lead you. Come together. Email us in your millions. We have the staff, we have the capacity, we have the finance, we have everything that we need to safeguard you. All you have to do is make that contract with us. And then you are together to agree upon something so you can do what you do. You understand what I'm saying? Please do not give up your genie to them. That's called your genetic code, your heritage, your house, your property, vaccinating, called debt injections is what the doctors are calling it now.
Wow.
Hopefully, I've made that very clear to them. The power that they have in their hands and the lack of power that these governments and private organizations have over you.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not use it as a stabbing tool. Use it to disqualify them and to qualify you. Use the pen to qualify yourself and to disqualify them. If you pick up protesting and weaponry, then you go into their world of fiction, where you're trying to solve something that can be verbalized or written into an armed conflict, into a weaponized conflict. That's what they want.
That's right.
Don't give it to them.
They want that scruffle so that they can take you down. Yes.
Yeah, because then you become a combatant. Yeah. And they have the ability to take down combatants because their guns are bigger than yours. They don't use pens because they're illiterate bums. They don't use numbers because they are innumerate bums.
When the continent, the landmass of what is known as Australia was discovered, they called it New Holland. All right, first
New Holland.
New Holland,
As in Holland, yeah, in
Holland,
Europe.
yeah, New Holland, like Europe is Holland, like this is New Holland. Then
we're dealing with very old empires here, yeah.
Correct, very old, very old. And there were a number of explorers, and I won't go through that because people can research this. Then they named it Terra Australis. I think it's a combination of Latin and a few things in there. Terra means territorial, the land, territory. Terrestrial, Australis, and it kept that name. Now, when Captain Cook supposedly found
Captain Cook is a fiction, because we know it's a fiction because they name him but leave out the picture. There are so many fiction names like Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, the Kennedy family in the US, so they can all follow puppets, shadow puppets. The reason why you have filmmakers that make about the conspiracy to kill Kennedy is to convince you there was a great conspiracy. You don't need a conspiracy to kill an actor. That's what Kennedy was, an actor, passing acts, part of the Shakespearean company, part of the Shakespearean movement, made in ally with the Chinese opera house, Bollywood, Hollywood, Africa would, if such a thing exists. They're all one group of people playing the same hypnotic game on the general public in the same bureaucratic mechanism because they have zero creativity. A liar is a liar.
Yes.
Full stop, because they know the truth. And what does the truth do? It sets you free.
Correct.
Tell us more about this Holland, New Holland.
No, New Holland and Terra Australis. That was the name that was given to the continent, the landmass, what we know is Australia globally.
Okay.
So the sovereigns, which is the queen at that time, and the sovereigns found that it was already taken by the natives. So under international convention, they just can't invade a nation, the one that has already have resided there. So what they did privily was they went to the deserted islands of Norfolk Island, near the landmass of what we know is Australia.
To keep within international treaties and laws,
yes,
they went to an island that was inhabited, non-inhabited, where there was no natives, as there were in Australia.
Correct.
And there they set up shop in a non-populated island.
Yes, non-populated. Okay. Yes, and so you can call that a territory, like the Vatican in Italy or Rome, and also the city London as opposed to the city of London. It's like that. It's the same concept. So they
call city-state.
City-state. So Norfolk is considered as a city-state, like just for administration purposes.
Can you spell the name of that place, that island?
Norfolk.
As in
N-O-R.
As in angular. Okay.
Yeah, N-O-R-F-O-R-K, Norfolk.
Okay, which is in England, which is in the land of Angles, Anglica.
Okay.
Four-corner rule. So they named it after their family name, saying that it's inhabited and therefore we're taking over it. Yes. Miller was one clever man, because when they asked him, what landmass are you claiming? He claimed the land of contract in the time of contract. Wow. And that anybody exchanging contract can be in any space, any time, any land, any jurisdiction, under the ocean, over the ocean, in the sky. When two or more people are coming together to make contract, that's Miller's territory.
Wow. That is above and beyond anything that we can think and know. So they register the Commonwealth of Australia, and that is under the Security Exchange Commission of the USA.
Can you say that again, please?
They went to Norfolk Island, which is not habited, no natives, just deserted by itself.
Thank you. Thank you.
And register the Commonwealth of Australia. And this is where people, when they go and join citizenship of Australia, that it is under the Commonwealth of Australia.
On that island called
on
Norfolk.
that island, which is foreign to the Terra Australis.
Okay.
So, ladies and
That's
gentlemen,
why the native people, what they call Aborigines, the so-called Aborigines,
or original
can
people,
cross borders. Original people can cross borders in Australia, whereas the rest can't. They don't need to be vaccinated. They don't need to work because they're on their land, and they are fully supported in whatever they want to do. And they create this myth that they were cannibalized, beaten, raped. Also, the natives themselves don't understand the full power that they have, which is what they call the Maori people, isn't it? Because David Way Miller did a lot of teaching there.
Yes, yes.
So contact us, ladies and gentlemen, contact us. Contact us in your thousands, in your hundreds of thousands, and we'll give your lands back, your countries. Contact us for all of those Caucasians and all of those people that are alien to the landmass of Australia, and we'll make you natives.
That's
for the people on island. For the people on island, your passports are issued by who? By your foreign department. How can a foreign department issue passports? Because the Irish people think that they are natives. They are not native. Bureaucratically, they've killed you off. Bureaucratically, they've registered you somewhere else. Guess where they're registering you? We know. Prime ministers, presidents in Ireland. I know you think you're clever. You think you can move away from the stroke of a pen. You think you can move away from the Federal Postal Court. No, no, no. There are FEMA camps waiting for you. Because a liar is a liar. Please continue, Hugh.
Yes. So, in effect, if someone is a citizen of the Commonwealth of Australia, they are a foreigner because it was registered in Norfolk Island, which is not part of Terra Australis. I just want to drive home that idea. Now, that's it.
The Australian people holding their passports that are non-native are all citizens in an island called Norfolk near the Australian island, or the Australian landmass.
Landmass. And that's why sometimes people complain, how come the Constitution doesn't work, and how come we're treated like cattle and animals, and just, even the overseas news media are criticizing the Australian government under the Commonwealth of Australia, how they are treating their own people. But you have to understand that legal and lawful from the beginning, the history.
And they are misleading people because they're getting people to believe they're powerless, rather than having an investigator who's paid for, because they'll be able to unravel this in less than 5-6 hours. A professional researcher can unravel that. Yeah. Correct. Look, a secret is only a secret as long as the general public and nobody else knows about it. We've just made a so-called secret into the public. It's not hidden. It's not hidden. You don't have a secret, you pathetic liars. You half-witted bankers, you Norfolkers, you Anglicans, you Catholics, you half-witted morons. Because you live a life of a moron, and I'm being very specific. If you have not understood what these things are, then you are deaf, dumb, and blind to your own fate. Hugh and his team and the people that contributed to this have spent probably years bringing this information. I'm just showing you the narration of it. It's not my work. Hugh has spent weeks on this, and his team, the people that bought that information, spent years on it. I am not morally blackmailing you. I'm empowering you to realize that you have the power to do what you need to do to safeguard your people, your lands, and so on and so forth. Can I point out something else?
Yes, Mark.
When we went and watched this movie called Malignant, which is a recent movie, it was portrayed as a horror film. In doing the research, we realized that the pharmaceutical industry were trying to destroy and create a separation between your subconscious mind and your conscious mind, so they're at war with each other. What they call poisoning the spirit, so the spirit will attack its own body. What they call contempt, what they call sin, that you die in sin, you have to confess your sin, that you're soulless. In doing so, it was a pharmaceutical industry with chemical lobotomy, which is still happening in the form of vaccines. They don't want your subconscious mind, your spirit, to fuse with your body and your conscious mind, because when that happens, you will have the power, the strength, and the intellectual capacity of a natural creature. Look at any natural creature outside of your window. It has thousands of times more skills than you do. Yes. It has all the navigational skills that you lack. Not because you are less than them, it's because somebody hurt you linguistically, on paper, lied to you, vaccinated you, gave you death injections, got you smoking death sticks, and the rest of it. Yeah. So the movie made that very clear. And they showed Notre Dame in that movie. And we're thinking, why did they show Notre Dame? Because this is where they were administering the conspiracy against mankind. And every time they got caught out, they would burn the building down for 3 days, called the Rescissions Act, the Phoenix Act, the creature that sets itself alight and then reemerges as something else. They're trying to desperately reemerge as the authority in Australia. Don't let them. Don't let them. If need be, put your police officers under arrest for practicing mercenaries. Put your government under arrest to tell them peacefully, we've come to arrest you because you're an enemy of the people. You have lied to us. Surrender yourself now. There's a FEMA camp waiting. If you don't come with us now, it'll be necessary for us to use necessary force.
Right.
And if you need the words, email us. Second, when we was watching that movie, it was set in Seattle. And guess what we found out? Seattle was at that time run by a native chieftain called Chief Seattle. You know that. When the Chief Seattle was there, it was known as the territory, as in the landmass, the dirt location, the territory of Seattle. So what Washington, D.C. did to take it out of the territory or the landmass of the Constitution of the land, for the people, by the people, of the people, they created it as a state. And this is how they did it. There were many financial districts in Seattle. Do you know what they did? In one particular day, they burnt down all, I think, 3 or 4 financial districts, which are miles apart from each other. They burnt it to the ground, all within that period, within that year. And then they rebuilt the financial district on top of the ashes of the old territorial location of Seattle. Quite literally, there are roads and tunnels houses, basements,
Wow.
still in Seattle, with the carriages, the horses, and so on and so forth. There's a parallel world
Wow.
that exists
Revenue,
under
huh?
Seattle.
It's revenue,
Under
isn't it?
Seattle.
Yeah.
And then they recreated the known as the Seattle state of mind, not territory. And that state now became part of Washington. Not Washington, D.C., not yet. Okay,
Yes,
and that's how they do it. They burnt it down, let it burn, and then they build something on top. In architecture, they call that creative destruction. Las Vegas experiences that. They tear down and hold part of Las Vegas, and then they rebuild on top of it. It's called creative destruction. Look it up.
Yeah.
The mechanism is identical in Ireland, Scotland, England, Australia, and the rest of it. And guess what? We have a contract with who? The basilicas of the world for correctness. Do we not? And basilica is another word for what? Bank. And what is Notre Dame? It's a bank.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
I don't have any more to add, Mark. And I just want to drive home that message and the company that controls Australia. Full stop.
So the general public, the people all over the world share this information. It doesn't matter what country it is. Email us in your millions. We have the capacity to deal with all of that. And there, the Federal Postal Court and the judges will start the beginning of the process to birth this people into the corona period.
Thank you, Mark. Principle of lying and deceit and all those things are the same, whether it's in Australia or elsewhere. And today was just a demonstration of that, their technique of doing that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for bringing this information to us. Thank you very much for sending it to Hugh so he can put it together. Thank you very much for sharing this information. It's for the benefit of the world. We're here to set the entire world free. Thank you very much. I feel really good. Thank you.